It's called the happiest place on earth. So if you're a fan of themed rides and Disney movies, then that motto will definitely ring true for you. Most of us grew up with Disney, but how much about their amusement parks do you really know? 22 Disney park secrets you should know. 22. The amazing flying Tinkerbell. Cast member hopefuls looking to be Tinkerbell don't necessarily have to be blonde, since Disney will provide an accurate wig. But what you do need, however, is some good upper body strength. If you've been to Magic Kingdom, you know that Tinkerbell flies out of Cinderella's castle during the Wish's nighttime spectacular. She needs to get pushed from a window with enough force so that she doesn't need to do a hand over hand to get to the other end. 21. The Tower of Terror Secrets. There's a few Twilight Zone Tower of Terror rides around the world, with one at each Disney park, though the one in Disneyland now houses the new Guardians of the Galaxy ride. The one at Disney World in Florida has an interesting hidden feature inside. Back when the Imagineers were working on the ride, they would play pranks on each other, one prank consisting of a jar of pickled sausage being left in the tower, but it got forgotten about and accidentally glued down. To this day, you can see the jar at the photo pickup area. 20. Hidden Mickey Mouses. It makes sense that there's a bunch of Mickey Mouse symbols all over the Disney parks, but did you know that there's some that are meant to be hidden? If you look in all the right places all over Disneyland, or you could just Google it, you'll find some Mickey Mouse outlines that were made to be blended into the buildings and environment. From things like a shadow on a ceiling, to a cactus, and even a mark on the sidewalk made to look like a small scrape, there's no telling where you'll find these hidden Mickey Mouse symbols. 19. Pay attention to the ground. It seems that the planners behind the Disney parks knew exactly what they were doing. In order for guests to not trip or get disoriented, Disney had the sidewalk made in different colors so that the guests would subconsciously make their way through the nighttime. 18. Be our guests. This next one could either be construed as sweet or weird. You decide. If you ever went to watch the Be Our Guest routine, then you might have noticed all the intricate artwork all over the iconic ballroom. Look closely and you can see all the faces of all the little cherubs. Well, the Imagineers behind the ballroom had the cherubs made in the likeness of their children, or even from the baby pictures of themselves. 17. The EPCOT monorail. Thanks to the natural environment of Florida, the monorail at EPCOT has to go around the huge sphere, even though that's not what Disney originally wanted. Originally, it was supposed to be made into 2 stops, one at Future World and one at World Showcase. However, the Floridian sinkholes and swampland would have made it difficult, so it's only 1 stop and you only need to buy 1 ticket. 16. To those who made Disneyland possible. When you walk past the windows of the buildings on Main Street, one of the last things you're psyched about seeing is probably all the windows. But if you do pay attention to them, you'll notice the names of different people. All of these windows get dedicated to the many people who helped make Disneyland possible, referred to as the Window Honors. 15. A genius idea. You know how in school, you're not allowed to have gum because they don't want it getting everywhere? But kids don't listen anyway and stick their chewed pieces of gum under tables, seats, or left on the ground. Well, Disney doesn't even want to deal with that stuff, so they just don't even make it an option. There's lots of candy to be found at Disney parks, but they do not sell gum. This has been done to keep the park as clean as possible. You can, however, bring your own gum. 14. Release the smellitizers. Maybe you were just so mesmerized by the sights that you barely even noticed the smells. But they're there all right. At the Disney parks, different scents were emitted into different parts of the park, with each land or ride accompanied by its own unique smell. They used to make Main Street smell like vanilla and freshly baked cookies. The Pirates of the Caribbean ride would get a sea salt fragrance, while the Tower of Terror smells like honey. 13. The fake flags. Walking out onto the Magic Kingdom's Main Street, park visitors get met with the sight of a line of American flags. But because of the government regulations on how you should raise the United States flag, these flags can't be real American flags if Disney wants to keep them up permanently. Each flag has some sort of defect, whether it be a missing star or a missing stripe. Plus, the poles of the flags act as lightning rods. 12. Bigger than it seems. One of the main features of Disney parks like Tokyo Disneyland and Magic Kingdom at Walt Disney World is Cinderella's castle. As the flagship landmark of these parks, it has to be the biggest building there, or at least look like it's the biggest. In order for the castle to look bigger than it is, park planners used forced perspective. The higher your eyes go up the building, the smaller the things such as windows and stones appear with each level, effectively making it look taller. 11. The Secret Cinderella Suite. Speaking of Cinderella's castle, did you know there's also a secret suite up there? Well, most of you might not know that since it wouldn't be too much of a secret then. But the real location has more to do with its location within the castle anyways. It also happens to be the only hotel room inside the actual park, which makes staying in that much more coveted. The rooms inside the castle were supposed to be exclusively for Walt Disney and his family. But for nearly 40 years, no one used the rooms until Disney renovated them in 2006. A clock inside also seems to be permanently read at 11:59 p.m. 10. Follow the sewage brick road. Those who visit Liberty Square in the Magic Kingdom might have made note of that more or less plain-looking brown path that cuts through the middle of the square. The rest of the pavement appears a plain red, so that it doesn't really distract you from anything else you might see. So what's up with the brown? Well, Disney had it put there to represent how sewage was dealt with during colonial America. 9. Countdown to Extinction. Those who've experienced the time-traveling spectacle of Dinosaur at Animal Kingdom say it is quite the ride. The track it runs along might even seem familiar, as it's the same one that the Indiana Jones ride rides on. The Animal Kingdom ride has been known to be quite intense. So for those of you who have seen it before, it might even surprise you to know that it used to be much scarier. Back when it was the original Countdown to Extinction, everything was apparently much more frightening, so everything from the motion of the ride, visuals, and soundtrack needed to be changed. 8. Handing over the deed. One of the more cute things on this list has to do with the changing of Mr. Toad's Wild Ride being changed to the newer Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh in 1998 at Disney World. A painting within the attraction's building shows Mr. Toad handing over the deed to Mr. Owl, and even greeting Pooh Bear a farewell in a different painting. Apparently, there was a lot of protest when it came to the closing of Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, which is probably why the park felt the need to implement the paintings. 7. Recycling decorations. Even a place as major as Disney needs to save money on things like props too, which accounts for why the spiders and monkeys present at the Jungle Cruise in Disney World came from other rides. Something like a Jungle Cruise requires lots of exotic animals, and if you already have some at your disposal, say spiders from Haunted Mansion and monkeys from Living on the Land attraction at EPCOT, why wouldn't you use them? Even the loincloth worn by Trader Sam was used from the same material on the Jungle Cruise boat. 6. Never blending realities. Walt Disney made sure that in the design of Magic Kingdom, you would not be able to see the other lands. For instance, if you stroll around Fantasyland, a barricade of trees would prevent you from seeing the nearby Liberty Square. This is to keep the reality and mood specific to the land you're in, which makes for a more memorable experience. So much so that not only do they hide the lands from each other, cast members of one land are not allowed to cross into a different land in costume. 5. Always find a trash can. We discussed earlier that Disney parks do not sell gum so as to keep the park as clean as possible. Another variable that factors into the cleanliness of the establishments has to do with the spacing between the trash cans. Go ahead, count, make measurements. You'll find that no trash can sits more than 30 feet away from each other. So really, there's no excuse why you couldn't throw away that turkey leg into the trash can instead of just leaving it on a bench or ledge. 4. The family of the day. It sounds kind of creepy, but let us explain. Every morning, Disney World picks one family to open the park for the morning. Early on, visitors get to witness the rope drop ceremony, complete with a family that gets to join Mickey Mouse. Early arrivers get to see the family arrive on a steam train and get to interact with their favorite characters. No one knows exactly how Disney handpicks these families. And to be able to get picked, families get encouraged to show up early, appear enthusiastic with your attitude and clothing, and even talk to the cast members. 3. The color of Mickey Mouse's shorts. Of all the secrets Disney would have and does have, did you think one of them would include the exact hue of those famous 2-button shorts? You can buy most, if not all, articles of clothing with Mickey Mouse on it, but you can't even buy shorts this exact color since no one outside of Disney knows what the exact color is called. They keep it private and a matter not open to be disclosed to the public. 2. The Utilidor system. So if cast members aren't allowed to cross lands outside of their canon, then there has to be an easier way besides just generally avoiding the area. You might have heard that Disney parks have a Utilidor system, a set of underground channels beneath the park that lets employees move about undetected and unaffected by the crowds above. Unsavory sites like taking out the trash are also taken care of in the Utilidors, a term derived from the words utility corridors. 1. Not real screams. You can find the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror at the Disney parks, an immensely popular attraction for park visitors. And though it really is a simple drop ride, people love to get scared. Interesting enough, the screams you hear on the ride might not always be from the people riding it with you. The tower has been known to use pre-recorded screams to heighten the atmosphere.